Welcome to Build Better Teams, the podcast for leaders who want to improve collaboration, strengthen communication, and create real alignment inside their teams. Here we explore team building strategies, leadership development, and hands-on approaches like Lego Serious Play that help teams think, build, and solve problems together. Let's get started so you can lead more effective, aligned, and engaged organizations. Hello, and welcome back to the Build Better Teams podcast. I am your host, Shannon Russell. So how well do you really know the people on your team? Not their job title, not the projects they're working on, but really, how do you know your team? What they're naturally great at, what excites them, what skills they have that no one has ever asked them about, what is their family life like? These are questions that every leader should want to ask every person on their team. This is the way that you can get to know those people who are working their hardest for you. And as a strategic leadership and team building facilitator, I work with organizations. I'm brought in to help with team communication, to help with strategic planning. And one of the biggest mistakes I see, really getting that inside peek at these teams and how they work together, is that leaders sometimes make an assumption that they know everything about their employees. But your employees are so much more than the job that you hire them for. Someone in accounting may have an incredible graphic design skill that you don't know about. Or someone in customer service may have experience leading teams that you weren't aware of. Someone in operations may have amazing public speaking abilities, but you never knew this, so you never gave them an opportunity to use them. When leaders don't ask the right questions, these hidden strengths stay hidden. And today, I really want to share some of my favorite questions that really help leaders build stronger relationships. These questions also help to just increase that employee engagement and create that workplace culture that every leader, every manager is looking to create and foster. By asking these questions and having these real conversations, you can uncover not only who this team member is outside of work, you may also be able to uncover talents that might be sitting right in front of you. Let's dive in. First, I want to talk about why these questions matter. Because employee engagement isn't built through just surveys that you send. It isn't built through another mass email. It's built through conversations. And when people feel like you want to ask them something about themselves, they're going to feel that you are valuing them, that a relationship is being formed. If you are the manager, if you're the executive, if you're the leader of a team, you're in a relationship with your team members. They need to feel comfortable with you, and you need to feel comfortable with them. And when people feel genuinely known by their boss, by their leaders, something changes, and they become even more invested in their work. They become more willing to contribute their ideas because they feel valued. And by getting to know your team members more, they will hopefully become more likely to speak up and contribute in different ways because they know that you're seeing them as a person and not just a button a seat, not just a position, not just someone who does XYZ because that's what they were hired for. And often all it takes is asking better questions. Here is question number 1. What's something you're really good at that you don't get to use in your current role? This question says it all. It is asking, well, what else would you like to be doing? What are you good at? This might be my favorite question because almost everyone has an answer. Maybe they love photography. Maybe they enjoy coaching and mentoring others. Maybe they know how to speak another language. Maybe they love to write. Maybe they are great at marketing. Maybe they've managed large events. If you think about it, so many of us change careers these days. So many of us add on and try new things. So you might be hiring someone, or you might have someone on your team who is hired for this specific role, but you don't know what they've done in their career experience in the past. Why not really get to know them, find out what they've done, what they've enjoyed, and what they've been successful at, and give them that power to do that role again in their current job if it fits. You never know until you ask. Sometimes these hidden talents become exactly what your team may need. Okay, here's another one. Question number 2. What part of your work gives you the most energy? Now, notice that I didn't say, what do you enjoy or what do you get excited about? The question asks, what gives you energy? Those are often very different things. So pay attention to what lights people up. That is usually where they'll do their best work. Question number 3. If you could spend more time doing one thing here, what would it be? Now, this question really uncovers motivation. If you could spend more time doing something, what motivates you to want to do more? Maybe someone wants to mentor others. Maybe they'd like to help onboard new employees and get them integrated into your team. Maybe they want to be involved in strategic planning on the goals for the next year and where the team is taking their actions so that they can reach those goals. These answers that you'll get from asking this question will reveal real opportunities for growth because your employees will start looking elsewhere of what else can they do? Is there anything else? Maybe there's not, but you won't know again until you ask this question. Okay, the next question is, what's one skill you'd love to learn this year? Most employees want development. They want to learn on the job because they'll be able to take those skills and experiences and use them elsewhere and use them to grow. Most employees want to move up. They want to be given more responsibilities. And sometimes just asking this question, what's one skill you'd love to learn? It doesn't require a promotion necessarily. It just requires an opportunity. If you can help this employee who would love to learn the marketing side of the business and you see an opportunity come up, how wonderful would it be if you can suggest this person to work on the next marketing campaign or sit in on some meetings with the person who's in charge of the marketing for this next project? You will be helping people continue to learn, and that sends a powerful message that you are invested in their future, especially here on your team. All right, here's the next question. Question number 5. What's something about your background that most people at work don't know? Again, this will uncover a lot. This is also a really fun question to ask if you have a team meeting, kind of like a quote unquote icebreaker, I guess. Something where the answers will surprise the other people in the room. And you might all discover someone has an experience that you didn't know about. Maybe someone has military experience. Maybe someone owned a business prior. Maybe someone was a professional performer doing something really cool. By asking this question, you'll learn a little bit more about each person on your team. And that's how relationships can form as well. If someone says, well, I coach my son's football team, or I volunteer with my daughter at Girl Scouts, then someone else can say, oh, well, I do that too, or my son plays football, or my daughter's in Girl Scouts. And it starts that collaboration and those relationships of just building a little bit deeper and getting to know each other a little bit more. You can also find out if someone has run a business or built websites. So you can kind of clock that and say, ooh, I wonder how I could ask this person to do that or to use that skill here on our team. Those experiences really shape how people solve problems and how they can lean on each other, especially knowing a little bit more about their background and what they're interested in or have been interested in the past. Question number 6. This one dives into a little bit more of the day-to-day. If you could improve one thing about how our team works together, what would it be? Now, there's some psychological safety in this question. And this is where you want to make sure, or I should say, where you want to see how safe your team members feel at work. By creating that psychological safety in your organization, that will allow your employees to answer this question openly, honestly, and truthfully. Because when employees believe that they can answer honestly, you'll hear insights that you may never have considered. And remember, you can't be defensive, just be curious. In asking this question about improvements that could happen within the team, you're asking for honest feedback, and that could be really, really great and beneficial for all of you. Don't take it as criticism, it's just some suggestions. Whether you implement those or not, it's nice to hear suggestions from people who are working with you and within the team day to day and kind of gauge how everyone's feeling. Another question you can try is, when do you feel most successful at work? We all know that success looks different for everyone, and not everyone loves being customer facing. Not everyone enjoys mentoring others. Not everyone enjoys the really difficult deadlines and all of that. So you want to understand, when does this person on your team feel successful at work? And what success feels like, so that you can create more opportunities for them to feel successful and experience this type of work. All right. Another question, question number 8. Is there a project you've always wanted to work on? This is just open ended, and people can share, oh, I've always wanted to work on this, or I think this would be a great project for us. Sometimes all these team members need to hear is permission. So by you asking, is there a project that you've always wanted to work on? They're thinking, okay, maybe there's a possibility. So I'm going to put it out there. And then it's really up to you to decide how to implement that if you decide to do so. Question 9. How do you prefer to receive recognition or feedback? Now, not everyone wants public praise or public criticism, but some people might appreciate a thank you or a coffee gift card or a private meeting to talk about feedback, good or bad. By asking, how do you prefer to receive this kind of recognition or feedback, is again kind of going back to that psychological safety aspect of creating a safe place where everyone can feel that there's open communication, and also that you are thinking about how to dish out that recognition and how to share feedback in a safe place. Recognition is most meaningful when it's personal. And feedback, especially if it has any kind of criticism or improvements attached to it, also needs to be personalized and done in a way where that person feels safe enough to receive that information and take it to heart. Last question here, question number 10. And this is really a question formed by you to others, you opening yourself up. And the question is, what's one thing I could do better to support you as your leader? This might be the most important question of all of these, because as we know, leadership isn't about having all of the answers. It's about creating that environment where your people can do their best work. And your employees often know what they need, but they haven't been asked. By you asking that, you might get a rainbow of answers. It might be, oh, I'm good. Or, you know what? I would love more one-on-one time with you. Or I would love an assistant. Or I would love to check in with you every quarter. You don't know what your answers will be until you ask. And again, this could be something that's done in a meeting, or what I would suggest is in a one-on-one. Now, one thing I love doing in my Lego Serious Play workshops that I facilitate for organizations and teams is that I love to ask people to answer these questions by building instead of simply talking. When people build a model that represents their answers, they're also building what represents their strengths and any challenges that they're coming across or any goals that they may have. It actually helps people to uncover their ideas that they didn't even realize they had, because they're doing it with their hands. They're making this answer 3D in the version of a Lego model for this example. It's amazing to watch. You really end up diving so much deeper than in just a meeting or just a one-on-one session, because sometimes people can't explain their idea, but when they're able to actually build it out, it just opens up everything. There's such a hand-to-brain connection, and there's roughly 80% of our brain that gets activated when we use our hands. So that really shows that our ideas come out of our heads into our hands, and we're able to build something. That's why I believe so strongly in hands-on facilitation for meetings, because when we think with our hands, we access creativity and those answers or those insights that traditional conversations often miss. Think about that when you are thinking about this list of 10 questions that we just went over. Think about different ways that you can allow your team members to get a little bit creative in thinking about their answers, maybe even before they speak. There's lots of ways you can do this. And if you want more information, I'll link to it in the show notes below, and you can learn more about Lego Serious Play and the types of workshops and events that I hold for organizations all over. As we close up, if you remember one thing from today's episode, I want you to make sure that it's this. Every employee on your team has strengths and experience and skills that aren't listed on their job description. And the best leaders don't just manage people's work, they discover their people's potential. And so this week, choose one or two of these questions and ask them during a one-on-one with a team member, or bring them to your next team meeting, or simply start a conversation over coffee with someone in the office, or at a networking event or a happy hour where your team is involved. Sometimes the right question changes everything. All right, my friend, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of the Build Better Teams podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe or leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. And remember, the strongest teams aren't built by knowing everyone's job duties. They're built by knowing the people behind them. I'm Shannon Russell. Thank you for listening to the Build Better Teams podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.